December 17, 1944. Bullingen, Belgium. 8 a.m. SS Obersturmführer Joachim Peiper watched American POWs pump American gasoline into German panzers. The irony wasn't lost on him. Everything about this scene was backwards. Captured enemy refueling the conqueror's machines at gunpoint. Peiper commanded Kampfgruppe Peiper, spearhead of 1st SS Panzer Division Leibstandard Adolf Hitler. 4,800 men, 117 tanks and assault guns. His orders were straightforward. Smash through American defenses, race west, grab the Meuse River bridges, cut the Allied armies in half. The offensive started 30 hours ago. Hitler named it Operation Watch on the Rhine. Biggest German attack in the West since 1940. 3 armies, 250,000 men, 1,400 armored vehicles. Target, Antwerp. Goal, separate British and Canadian forces, force Americans to negotiate, flip the war's momentum. One problem, fuel. German High Command allocated 5 million gallons for the entire operation. Basic math said the panzers needed double that to reach Antwerp. The planners knew. Their solution was elegant in its desperation. Capture American fuel depots. Take what you need. Keep rolling. Peiper's intelligence officer handed him a map before the attack. Showed American supply installations, fuel dumps, ammo depots, supply points. Intelligence was solid. Americans had supplies everywhere. Question was whether Germans could grab them before Americans torched them. Bullingen was the first test. Peiper's Kampfgruppe took the town at 7:30 that morning. Americans retreated so fast they left everything. Fuel depot intact. 50,000 gallons. Enough to refuel Peiper's entire spearhead and push west. American prisoners handled the pumps. Peiper ordered it. His men were exhausted, fighting 36 hours straight. Let the enemy pump their own fuel into German machines. Efficient. Also humiliating, which Peiper considered useful psychological warfare. Fuel flowed. Peiper watched jerry cans passed hand to hand. 5 gallons per can. 10 cans per tank. 100 tanks times 50 gallons equals 5,000. Would take hours. Hours Peiper didn't have. Every minute stopped gave Americans time to organize defense. But without fuel, panzers were useless. Steel boxes on tracks. Peiper learned that lesson on the Eastern Front. Best tank in the world meant nothing with empty gas tank. Wehrmacht lost more vehicles to fuel shortages than Soviet action in 1943. Entire divisions immobilized. Tanks abandoned. Positions overrun because panzers couldn't move. Now, in Belgium, same problem. German logistics had collapsed. Fuel allocated for offensive was stuck behind lines. Traffic jams. Bombed roads. American fighter bombers attacking anything moving during daylight. Supply trucks weren't coming. Meant Peiper had to capture American fuel or stop advancing. One of his officers approached. Obersturmführer Werner Sternbeck, Peiper's adjutant. Been with him since France. Reliable officer. Sternbeck reported fuel situation worse than expected. The 50,000 gallons at Bullingen would get them to Stavelot. Maybe. After that, they'd need more. Peiper already knew. His intelligence map showed another depot at Stavelot, larger than Bullingen. Americans would probably defend it or destroy it. Either way, Peiper had to reach it fast. Refueling continued. Peiper walked through captured depot. American supplies stacked everywhere. Ammunition crates. Medical supplies. Rations. Winter clothing. Everything organized. Everything labeled. Everything abundant. He picked up a ration box. Small cardboard container. Brown waterproof coating. Label said, K-Ration, Meal, Combat, Individual, Breakfast Unit. Peiper opened it. Inside, can of chopped ham and eggs, hard biscuits, chocolate bar, for cigarettes, instant coffee, sugar tablets, chewing gum, wooden spoon, matches, toilet paper, can opener. Everything a soldier needed for one meal. Packaged in book-size box. Weighed less than a pound. No cooking required. No field kitchen needed. Just open eat. Peiper commanded combat units since 1940. knew what German soldiers got as rations. Standard German field ration, when it arrived, required cooking. Came in bulk, containers needing field kitchens to prepare. Bread was hard. Meat was mostly fat. Quality declining since 1943. By late 1944, frontline units were lucky to receive anything. Peiper's own Kampfgruppe left Germany with 3 days' rations. Gone now. His men ate whatever they found. Captured American food. Food taken from Belgian civilians. Some units slaughtered horses. He looked at the K-Ration. Manufacture date stamped on bottom. October 1944. 2 months old. Americans producing these rations so recently that supplies manufactured weeks ago were already at the front. Sternbeck came over. Peiper handed him the K-Ration box. Sternbeck opened the ham and eggs can, ate it cold. His face showed surprise. Food was good, better than anything German soldiers had eaten in months. Sternbeck examined other items. Real coffee, real chocolate, American cigarettes, even small luxuries, matches, toilet paper, gum. Peiper said nothing. He was calculating. If every American soldier received 3 boxes daily, that's 3 meals. If there were 10 million American soldiers worldwide, that meant 30 million individual meal boxes every day. 900 million monthly. Industrial capacity required to produce, that number was staggering. Germany never produced anything on that scale. Entire German armaments industry mobilized for total war since 1939. They produced tanks, aircraft, ammunition, but couldn't produce enough food to feed their own soldiers properly. And here Americans were packaging individual meals in waterproof boxes with luxuries like chewing gum. Sternbeck pointed out something else. Depot had hundreds of these boxes, maybe thousands. This was one supply point in one small town. How many depots did Americans have? How much food? How much of everything? Peiper fought Soviets in the East. Seen Soviet logistics, mass production, crude but effective, endless truck columns, factories in the Urals beyond German reach. Soviets replaced losses faster than Germany could inflict them. But Soviet logistics looked primitive compared to this. Soviets moved supplies in bulk. Americans packaged everything individually. Soviets used quantity. Americans used quantity and quality. Every item Peiper examined showed careful engineering, waterproof packaging, compact design, long shelf life. This wasn't emergency improvisation. This was industrial planning. An SS Sturmbannführer arrived. Werner Pochk commanded what remained of 1st SS Panzer Battalion. Lost tanks during advance, needed resupply. Battalion running low on fuel and ammunition. Peiper told him fuel was being distributed now. Ammunition would come from captured American stocks. They'd found crates of American 75mm shells fitting German guns. Take what you need. Keep moving. Pochk asked about food. His men hadn't eaten since yesterday. Peiper pointed to rations. American K-Rations. Take as many as needed. Men should eat now, carry more. No telling when next supply opportunity would come. Pochk grabbed several boxes, distributed them to tank crews. Men opened boxes, ate. Peiper watched them. Experienced soldiers, veterans of France and Russia, eating American emergency field rations, treating them like feast because compared to what they normally received, it was. Refueling finished at 9:30. Peiper gave order to move out. Kampfgruppe formed march column. Tanks first. Half-tracks next. Support vehicles last. Columns stretched several kilometers. Peiper's command vehicle took position near front. Route led northwest toward Stavelot. 14 kilometers. Maybe 20 minutes at speed on good roads. But roads weren't good. Mud. Refugees. Destroyed vehicles. Americans retreating but fighting. Every village had to be cleared. Every bridge checked for demolitions. Peiper's intelligence map showed major fuel depot at Stavelot, larger than Bullingen. Map indicated depot was near town but didn't show exact location. Peiper assumed it'd be obvious. Supply depots were large installations. Vehicles. Storage tanks. You couldn't hide something that big. Kampfgruppe reached Stavelot at noon. Town sat on both sides of Ambla River. Stone bridge in center. American forces defending bridge. Peiper's lead tanks engaged. Americans had anti-tank guns, fought hard. Battle for Stavelot lasted 3 hours. Peiper's forces eventually pushed Americans back across river. German engineers check bridge. Not demolished. Intact. Americans tried to blow it, but charges failed to detonate. Lucky. Without that bridge, entire advance would stop. Peiper's units crossed bridge, entered western part of Stavelot. They searched for fuel depot. Intelligence said it was here, near town. Large quantities. Enough fuel to keep offensive moving for days. They found nothing. Peiper sent reconnaissance teams in all directions. Check outskirts. Check roads. Check every building. Fuel depot had to be somewhere. Americans wouldn't abandon 3 million gallons of gasoline. They'd either defend it or destroy it. Peiper's men found no evidence of either. At 3 p.m., one of his reconnaissance officers reported finding American supply dumps north of town. Small amounts. Jerry cans scattered along roads. Maybe few thousand gallons total. Not the major depot. Not what intelligence promised. Peiper made decision. Fuel depot either didn't exist or Americans already evacuated it. Either way, he couldn't wait. His Kampfgruppe had enough fuel to continue advance. Not much, but enough. Mission was reach Meuse River. Every hour stopped was hour wasted. Move on. Kampfgruppe departed Stavelot at 4 p.m., continued west. Behind them, American engineers moved back into position. They'd been watching from hills. Once Germans passed, they secured bridge approaches. Stavelot wouldn't fall completely. Americans would hold positions south of river. What Peiper didn't know, fuel depot existed. It was there. 3.2 million gallons of gasoline stored in 5-gallon jerry cans stacked along a 5-mile stretch of road. Depot number 2 and depot number 3. Located 800 feet north of the road Peiper used to approach Stavelot. 300 yards away. Peiper drove past 3 million gallons of fuel and never saw it. Americans hadn't hidden depot. Hadn't camouflaged it. Jerry cans were stacked in plain sight along roadside. Thousands of them. Millions of gallons. Right there. But Peiper expected fuel depot to look like German depots looked. Storage tanks. Buildings. Vehicles. Infrastructure. American depot was just jerry cans. Stacked. Waiting. No guards. No vehicles. No buildings. Just fuel in portable containers ready to be distributed wherever needed. Peiper rolled past, looking for something that looked like a depot. Never found it, because he was looking for wrong thing. After war, American historian Major Kenneth Heckler interviewed Peiper. Heckler told Peiper about depot. 3 million gallons. 300 yards from your route. Peiper shrugged. Said he expected fuel to be piled in town squares, like at Bulingen. When he didn't find it in Stavelot, he assumed Americans moved it. That missed depot changed everything. With 3 million gallons, Peiper could have refueled entire Kampfgruppe multiple times. Could have refueled other German units. Could have kept offensive moving. Fuel crisis that eventually stopped German advance wouldn't have existed. But Peiper never found it. Without fuel, his advance was doomed. December 21, 1944. Stillmont, Belgium. Major Hal McCown crouched in cellar, listening to German tanks surrounding his position. McCown commanded 2nd Battalion, 119th Infantry Regiment, 30th Infantry Division. His battalion fought Kampfgruppe Peiper for 3 days. Now they were cut off. Situation deteriorating fast. German armor everywhere. American defensive positions collapsing. McCown's radio operator reported German forces broke through to south. Battalion surrounded. At 2:30 p.m., German infantry stormed McCown's command post. Short firefight. 1 American killed. McCown and several staff captured. Germans searched them for weapons and intelligence documents. Took their personal items, watches, cigarettes, anything valuable. McCown was taken to Stone House on edge of Stillmont. Peiper's command post. House was damaged. Windows broken. Walls pockmarked with bullet holes. Inside, German officers studied maps, coordinated defensive positions. Because by December 21st, Peiper's offensive had stopped. His Kampfgruppe was surrounded. No fuel. No ammunition. No supplies. No way forward. No way back. Peiper stood near map table. Tall. Thin. 30 years old. Aristocratic features. Spoke perfect English. Saw McCown walked over. They were same rank. 2 battalion commanders. 1 German, 1 American. Both professional soldiers. Peiper introduced himself. Asked McCown's name, unit, position. McCown gave required information under Geneva Convention. Name, rank, serial number. Peiper didn't press for more. Seemed more interested in talking than interrogating. That night, Peiper and McCown talked for 7 hours. From 11 p.m. until 5 a.m. next morning. Sat in room, with maps, talked about war. Peiper did most talking. McCown mostly listened. Peiper defended Nazism. Explained why Germany was fighting. Justified German actions. McCown later said he'd met few men who impressed him in so short a time. Peiper was intelligent, educated, articulate. Completely confident Germany would win. Even surrounded. Even out of fuel. Even with his Kampfgruppe disintegrating. Peiper believed Germany would win. McCown spent 3 days with Kampfgruppe Peiper. Observed everything, German supply conditions, morale, equipment, food, medical care. Made mental notes because he knew this information would be valuable. What McCown saw contradicted what Peiper said. Peiper claimed Germany was winning. But evidence showed Germany was losing. German soldiers looked exhausted. Fighting 5 days straight with minimal rest. Many wore parts of American uniforms, knit caps, gloves, sweaters, overshoes, even overcoats. Wearing enemy clothing because their own logistics couldn't provide adequate winter gear. Physical condition of men was generally good. No starvation. No obvious malnutrition. But they weren't eating well. German rations were scarce. Most men ate captured American food. K-Rations. C-Rations. 10-in-1 rations. Whatever they'd taken from overrun American positions. McCown watched German soldiers open American ration boxes. They examined contents like children examining presents. Chocolate bars. Real coffee. Cigarettes. Small luxuries American soldiers took for granted were precious to German troops who hadn't seen such things in months. One German soldier showed McCown a can of ham from K-Ration. Soldier said it was better than anything Wehrmacht issued. German army's canned meat was mostly fat and gristle. Required cooking. Tasted bad. This American ham was real meat. Preserved properly. Edible cold. Soldier said if Germany could produce rations like this, war would be different. McCown said nothing. He was prisoner. Arguing was pointless. But he understood what soldier meant. If Germany could produce rations like American rations, they would. Fact they couldn't meant they lacked industrial capacity. And if they lacked capacity to produce food, they lacked capacity to produce everything else sustaining modern warfare. German medical supplies were critically short. Aid station at Stumont had no morphine. No sulfa drugs. Bandages being reused. Wounded German soldiers screamed during treatment because there was nothing for pain. McCown saw amputations performed with minimal anesthesia. Men biting leather straps. Held down by comrades. Sawing through bone while patient was conscious. American medical practice would consider that medieval. American aid stations had morphine, sulfa drugs, proper bandages, sterile instruments. American wounded received pain relief. Antibiotics for infection. Professional care. Germans were improvising with inadequate supplies, doing their best. But their best was far below American standards. December 22nd, Luftwaffe attempted aerial resupply of Kampfgruppe Peiper. 6 planes flying low, dropping supply canisters by parachute. Drop zone was supposed to be inside German lines. Most canisters missed. Fell outside perimeter. American forces recovered them. German soldiers watched supply canisters land 200 yards away in American positions. Unreachable. Aerial resupply was complete failure. Peiper's forces were now completely isolated, surrounded by American units. No fuel, no ammunition, dwindling food, no medical supplies, no way to evacuate wounded. 170 American prisoners, hundreds of German casualties. Situation was unsustainable. December 23rd, Peiper held conference with senior officers. McCown was present, listened as German officers discussed options. All options were bad. Couldn't advance, no fuel. Couldn't defend indefinitely, no ammunition. Couldn't retreat with vehicles, no fuel. Could attempt to break out on foot. Abandon everything. Tanks, half-tracks, vehicles. Wounded who couldn't walk. American prisoners. Everything. Peiper made decision. Break out on foot. Destroy vehicles. Leave wounded with American medical supplies. Release American prisoners. March east through forest. Try to reach German lines. Only option giving his men any chance of survival. Breakout began at 2 a.m., December 24th. 800 German soldiers moving through darkness, through snow, through forest. No vehicles, no heavy weapons, just small arms and whatever each man could carry. McCown escaped during confusion, made it back to American lines December 25th, filed immediate after-action report. Everything he'd seen, German supply conditions, equipment status, morale, food situation, medical care. Report was detailed, accurate. McCown later testified at Malmedy trial, June 1946. Appeared as defense witness. Testified Peiper's men treated him correctly under Geneva Convention. Described conditions inside German lines. Supply failures. Desperation. Professionalism of German soldiers fighting with inadequate resources. McCown said one thing clearly. Germans lost at Stumont not because of American tactical superiority. They lost because they ran out of supplies, fuel, ammunition, food, medical supplies, everything. Wehrmacht was an 80-day army that could no longer sustain itself in combat. No logistics, no chance of victory. Peiper abandoned 7 Tiger II tanks at La Gleize, 50 medium tanks, 70 half-tracks, 135 vehicles. Everything immobilized because fuel tanks were empty. Some of most advanced armored vehicles in world left behind. Useless. Tanks were intact, functional, loaded with ammunition. But without gasoline, they were just metal sculptures. Belgian civilians later recovered vehicles. Some placed in museums. Visitors ask why Germans left them behind. Answer is always same. No fuel. Tanks couldn't move. Crews couldn't stay. So they were abandoned. January 1945. POW camp, France. General Otto von Manteuffel sat in interrogation room answering questions from American intelligence officers. Manteuffel commanded 5th Panzer Army during Ardennes offensive. Professional soldier. Career officer. Eastern Front veteran. He'd opposed Ardennes plan from beginning. American officers asked detailed questions. What were German objectives? What resources were allocated? What went wrong? Manteuffel answered honestly. War was over for him. No reason to lie. His answers would become foreign military studies manuscripts, official documents, historical record. Manteuffel explained he and Field Marshal Model argued against Hitler's plan. They wanted limited offensive, smaller objectives, realistic goals. Hitler wanted Antwerp, cross Meuse River, split Allied armies, forced negotiations. Hitler's plan was strategically impossible with available resources. Fuel allocation made success impossible. 5 million gallons for 3 armies. 1,400 tanks. Thousands of vehicles. Basic mathematics showed it was insufficient. Planning assumed capturing American fuel depots. That assumption was gamble. You cannot base military operations on capturing enemy supplies. What if Americans destroy depots? What if you can't find them? What if they defend them successfully? All three scenarios happened. Some depots were destroyed. Some were never found. Some were defended. Fuel crisis began immediately, never stopped. Manteuffel said his tank units were crying for fuel as early as December 19th. Second day of offensive. Units already running dry. Supply trucks weren't reaching front. Captured fuel was insufficient. Entire offensive grinding to halt because panzers sat immobilized, waiting for gasoline that never arrived. American interrogators asked about German logistics in general. Manteuffel was frank. German logistics had collapsed. Not just during Ardennes offensive. Entire system. Since 1943, maybe earlier. Eastern Front destroyed German logistics. Distances too great. Roads too poor. Soviet resistance too strong. German trucks broke down faster than they could be repaired. Railways constantly under attack. Wehrmacht became dependent on horses. Hundreds of thousands of horses pulling supply wagons, like in 1870. By late 1944, some German divisions had more horses than German divisions in World War I. Mechanized warfare fought with horse-drawn logistics. Contradiction was fatal. Tanks moved faster than horses. Panzers could advance 20 kilometers an hour. Supply wagons needed full day to cover same distance. Combat units outran their logistics, then stopped. Immobilized. Waiting for supplies that arrived too late or not at all. Horse dependence created additional problems. Horses required food. Approximately 20 pounds of fodder daily per animal. Division with 5,000 horses needed 50 tons of horse feed daily just to sustain its logistics system. That feed had to be transported on roads already congested with military traffic. Horses also died. From exhaustion. From air attacks. From inadequate feed. Dead horses blocked roads, required burial or disposal. American logistics used trucks exclusively. Trucks didn't require daily feeding. Sat idle when not needed without consuming resources. Moved faster. Carried more. Required less maintenance personnel than horse-drawn wagons. American truck fleet numbered in hundreds of thousands. All standardized designs. All using interchangeable parts. All supported by massive spare parts supply system. Allied strategic bombing made everything worse. Every rail junction was target. Every bridge destroyed. Every road strafed by fighter bombers. German logistics units could only move at night. Daylight movement meant certain death from air. American P-47s and P-51s attacked anything that moved. Supply columns burned. Fuel trucks destroyed. Food convoys shot up. German production couldn't replace losses. Factories were bombed. Raw materials scarce. Skilled workers conscripted into combat units. Industrial base crumbling. What factories did produce often couldn't reach front because transportation networks were destroyed. Manteuffel contrasted this with American logistics. Americans had secure supply lines. Factories in America safe from bombing. 3,000 miles from fighting. Producing war materials at rates Germany could never match. Ships crossed Atlantic constantly, delivering supplies. Port of Antwerp alone handled more tonnage monthly than all German ports combined. American supply depots everywhere. Fuel, ammunition, food, spare parts. Everything organized. Abundant. Redundant. Multiple depots meant losing one didn't matter. Standardized containers meant soldiers could handle supplies without special training. Abundant production meant waste was acceptable if it increased speed of distribution. German logistics had no excess capacity. Every supply dump was critical. Every fuel truck precious. Every ration counted. Wehrmacht operated on edge of collapse constantly. One disruption meant crisis. Two disruptions meant disaster. American officers asked Manteuffel when he knew Germany would lose war. Manteuffel said he knew in 1943 after Kursk. Wehrmacht could still win battles. But winning battles wasn't enough. Germany needed to win war. That required resources Germany didn't have. Industrial capacity, oil, food, manpower, time. Americans had all those things. Functionally unlimited industrial capacity. Secure oil supplies from Texas and Middle East. Agricultural production that fed both military and civilians. Population of 130 million. Time to mobilize that population and deploy it. Germany lost resource war before shooting war ended. Once America entered conflict, German defeat was inevitable. Not immediate, not easy, but inevitable. Mathematics were simple. America could produce more tanks, more planes, more bullets, more food, more everything than Germany could destroy. Eventually, American material superiority would grind German resistance into dust. Ardennes offensive was final desperate gamble. Use last strategic reserves. Achieve one dramatic victory. Force allies to negotiate. Hitler believed will and courage could overcome material disadvantage. Manteuffel knew better. Will and courage matter. But logistics matter more. Army without supplies cannot fight regardless of how brave its soldiers are. Offensive failed. German losses catastrophic. 600 tanks destroyed or abandoned. 34,000 killed. 60,000 wounded or missing. Wehrmacht's last mobile reserves gone. After Ardennes, Germany could only retreat. No more offensives. No more grand strategic plans. Just fighting delaying actions until inevitable end. Manteuffel was asked to write detailed reports on Ardennes offensive. 5th Panzer Army operations. Planning. Execution. Lessons learned. He wrote 148 pages. Then another 161 pages. Foreign Military Studies Manuscripts B. 151 and B. 151A. Professional Military Analysis. Balanced Assessments. Credit to American performance. Honest evaluation of German failures. Tone was clinical. Detached. Professional. He faulted German shortcomings. Credited Allied successes. No excuses. No propaganda. Just factual analysis. This is what happened. This is why it happened. These were mistakes. These were consequences. Other German generals were less honest in post-war statements. They blamed Hitler, blamed weather, blamed bad luck, blamed everything except fundamental problem. Germany lacked industrial and logistical capacity to sustain modern warfare against opponents with superior resources. Manteuffel didn't make excuses. Stated facts. Germany lost because Germany was outproduced, outsupplied, outsustained. German army in December 1944 was still capable of tactical excellence. But tactical excellence without strategic resources meant eventual defeat. Interrogation concluded. Manteuffel returned to prisoner compound. Would spend next year in American custody. Then release. Return to Germany. Long post-war life. He lectured at West Point in 1968. Gave interviews for documentaries. Remained professional soldier providing honest analysis until his death. His legacy was his honesty. Unlike many German generals who rewrote history to excuse failures, Manteuffel told truth. Ardennes offensive failed because of logistics. War was lost because of industrial capacity. No amount of tactical skill could overcome material disadvantage. February 1946. Nuremberg, Germany. SS Obergruppenführer Joseph Sepp Dietrich sat in cell waiting for trial. Dietrich commanded 6th SS Panzer Army during Ardennes offensive. Former butcher. Hitler's bodyguard. Promoted far beyond his competence. American psychiatrist named Leon Goldensohn interviewed Dietrich. Goldensohn was documenting psychological state of Nazi war criminals. Talked with Dietrich on February 28th. Conversation ranged across multiple topics. War. National Socialism. Offensive. Defeat. At one point, Dietrich made sardonic comment about his army. Said we call ourselves 6th Panzer Army because we've only got 6 panzers left. Dark humor. Gallows humor. But accurate. Offensive destroyed his army. Losses staggering. Equipment gone. Men dead or captured. What remained barely qualified as functioning military unit. Dietrich wasn't strategic thinker. Hermann Göring later said of him, "He is decent but stupid." He had at most the ability to command division. Hitler gave him an army. Results were predictable. 6th Panzer Army was supposed to lead main thrust. Instead, it bogged down immediately. Poor planning, traffic jams, fuel shortages, American resistance. Dietrich's army was allocated fuel for 90 to 100 miles of travel. Distance to Antwerp was 140 miles. Even if everything went perfectly, fuel allocation was insufficient. Plan explicitly required capturing American gasoline depots. Without captured fuel, offensive couldn't succeed. Entire operation premised on taking enemy supplies. That dependency revealed German logistical bankruptcy. You cannot plan military operations around capturing enemy resources. It's desperation disguised as strategy. Professional officers like Manteuffel understood this. Political appointees like Dietrich didn't. Goldensohn asked Dietrich about offensive's failure. Dietrich blamed everything except logistics. Blamed American air power. Blamed weather. Blamed terrain. Blamed Hitler for unrealistic objectives. All valid criticisms. But he never mentioned his army ran out of fuel because German logistics couldn't sustain attack. After war, analysis by both American and German military historians reached same conclusion. Ardennes offensive failed primarily due to logistics. Fuel shortages stopped advance. Ammunition shortages limited artillery support. Food shortages degraded soldier effectiveness. Medical supply shortages meant wounded died who could have been saved. German tactical performance was often excellent. Individual units fought well. Officers made good decisions with available resources. Soldiers showed courage and skill. But tactics cannot overcome logistics failures. Army without fuel cannot advance. Army without ammunition cannot attack. Army without food cannot sustain operations. Americans won Battle of Bulge not primarily through superior tactics, but through superior logistics. They moved reinforcements faster than Germans advanced, supplied defensive positions adequately, replaced losses from reserves, sustained operations through winter conditions that degraded German capabilities. American logistics in December 1944 was mature system. 5 years of development, massive infrastructure, dedicated logistics units, specialized vehicles, standardized procedures, supply depots positioned strategically across Europe, transportation networks moving supplies from American factories to frontline foxholes in weeks. April 1945. American Interrogation Center, Germany. Joachim Peiper sat across from American interrogators answering questions about Kampfgruppe Peiper's operations. War was ending. Germany collapsing. Peiper would soon face war crimes charges for Malmedy massacre. But for now, Americans wanted information about tactical operations. Peiper described offensive in detail. Planning, execution, problems encountered, decisions made. He was cooperative, professional, answered questions accurately. No defiance, no evasion, just factual responses from soldier to other soldiers. Americans asked about fuel. When did you run out? Where did you refuel? What depots did you capture? Peiper explained fuel crisis. Bulge provided 50,000 gallons, enough to reach Stavelot. But at Stavelot, he found no major depot. Small amounts scattered along roads. Not enough. He continued west with minimal fuel. Reached Stamont. Ran completely dry. American officer asked if Peiper knew about depot at Stavelot. 3 million gallons. 800 feet from your route. Peiper said he didn't know. Interrogator showed a map. Pointed to depot location. Explained thousands of jerry cans were stacked along that road. Right there. Peiper passed within 300 yards. Peiper looked at map for a long moment. Then shrugged. Smiled slightly. Said in English, "I am sorry." Interrogator asked why he missed it. Peiper explained he expected fuel to be concentrated in town. piled and square like at Bulingen. When he didn't find it, he assumed Americans evacuated it. Never thought to look for jerry cans stacked along roadside. Interrogator made notes. Peiper continued describing subsequent operations. Advance to Stomont. Encirclement. Decision to break out on foot. Abandonment of all vehicles. Retreat through forest back to German lines. Peiper never expressed regret about missed depot. No emotion. No frustration. Just tactical error explained in professional terms. He missed opportunity. That happens in war. Move on. But that missed opportunity changed battle. With 3 million gallons, Peiper could have refueled multiple times. Could have continued advancing. Could have reached Meuse River. Could have achieved breakthrough that was offensive's objective. Or maybe not. Even with unlimited fuel, Peiper still faced American resistance. American air power once weather cleared. American reinforcements moving faster than he could advance. Logistics was critical, but not everything. Fuel alone wouldn't have won battle. But it would have changed outcome. Germans would have advanced further. Caused more casualties. Captured more territory. Battle would have lasted longer. Strategic situation would have been different. All because Peiper drove past 3 million gallons of gasoline and never saw it. Depot was there. Visible. Accessible. Undefended. He passed within 300 yards. Missed it completely because he was looking for something that looked like German depot. Organized infrastructure. Buildings. Guards. American depot was just fuel stacked. Ready. Waiting. No infrastructure needed. That was American logistics. Simple. Efficient. Abundant. No wasted effort on structures that didn't contribute to mission. Just put supplies where they're needed. Soldiers will figure out how to use them. German logistics was more complicated. Formal structures. Designated supply points. Official procedures. System worked when everything functioned correctly. But it was fragile. Disrupt any part and whole system failed. American logistics was resilient. Redundant. Flexible. Multiple depots meant losing one didn't matter. Standardized containers meant soldiers could handle supplies without special training. Abundant production meant waste was acceptable if it increased speed of distribution. These were fundamental differences in approach. German logistics emphasized control and efficiency. American logistics emphasized abundance and speed. In long war, American approach won. Interrogation ended. Peiper was taken back to confinement. He would face trial, conviction, prison sentence, eventually release. Long post-war life. Death in France 1976 under mysterious circumstances. His military career was documented thoroughly. Tactical decisions analyzed. Failures and successes recorded. Missed fuel depot at Stavelot remained his most consequential tactical error. Not moral failing. Not war crime. Just mistake. He looked in wrong place. Assumed wrong thing. Missed opportunity that could have changed battle. That error symbolized larger German failure. Wehrmacht was looking for something that didn't exist. They expected American logistics to work like German logistics. Concentrated depots, formal structures, predictable patterns. But American logistics was different. Distributed. Flexible. Abundant. K-Ration symbolized that system. Not reason America won, but representation of why America won. 105 million K-Rations produced in 1944 alone, each containing 2,830 calories across 3 individually packaged meals. Manufactured in American factories, safe from bombing. Shipped across Atlantic. Distributed to soldiers fighting on multiple continents simultaneously. German soldiers opened these boxes and saw food. They should have seen industrial capacity, transportation networks, economic system that produced millions of meal packages monthly and delivered them anywhere needed. Small luxuries included chocolate, cigarettes, chewing gum demonstrated excess capacity. America could afford to add non-essentials because their production was that abundant. German rations by 1944 reflected failing system. inadequate nutrition, poor quality, irregular distribution, dependence on field kitchens that couldn't always operate. Everything reflected resource scarcity and industrial strain. When Germany surrendered May 1945, Wehrmacht soldiers were starving. Rations had collapsed. Supply systems disintegrated. Many German POWs gained weight in American captivity because they received regular meals for first time in months. One German prisoner said, "When I was captured, I weighed 128 pounds. After 2 years as American POW, I weighed 185. I'd gotten so fat you could no longer see my eyes." American prison camp rations were better than German combat rations. Battle of Bulge ended January 1945. German forces withdrew to starting positions. American forces counterattacked. By March, Allies crossed Rhine. By April, they were surrounding Berlin. By May, Germany surrendered unconditionally. Ardennes offensive consumed Germany's last strategic reserves without achieving strategic objectives. It delayed Allied advances by several weeks, inflicted casualties, but didn't change war's outcome. Elite units committed to Ardennes were best Germany had left. After offensive, those units were gone, destroyed, scattered, incapable of sustained operations. American forces grew stronger in same period. More divisions arrived from United States. More equipment, more supplies. Logistics system continued functioning efficiently. When Germany surrendered, American forces in Europe were at peak strength and capability. Germany lost World War II because it couldn't sustain modern warfare against opponents with superior industrial and logistical capacity. Strategic errors and tactical mistakes contributed. But fundamental disparity was economic. United States and Soviet Union both possessed industrial economies capable of producing war materials faster than Germany could destroy them. Germany didn't. That disparity determined outcome. American logistics superiority extended beyond rations. Consider vehicle production. United States manufactured 400,000 trucks during war. Germany produced 140,000. American factories delivered 63,000 tanks. German factories delivered 46,000. But German tanks required more maintenance, more fuel, more spare parts. American tanks were simpler, more reliable, easier to maintain in field conditions. Gap widened in aircraft production. America built 300,000 military aircraft during war. Germany built 120,000. American bombers struck German factories with impunity, while American fighters controlled European skies. German aircraft production declined throughout 1944. Despite desperate efforts to increase output, Allied bombing destroyed factories faster than Germany could build new ones. German soldiers at Battle of Bulge understood this disparity. They saw American equipment abandoned intact because retreating forces had no time to destroy it. They captured American supply dumps containing more food and ammunition than they'd seen in months. They wore American uniforms because German logistics couldn't deliver adequate winter clothing. Every interaction with captured American supplies reinforced same lesson. Enemy had everything. Germany had nothing. That knowledge affected German combat effectiveness. Soldiers who know their side is losing fight differently than soldiers who believe victory is possible. German soldiers in December 1944 fought bravely. But bravery has limits when you're cold and hungry, and know that even if you win today's battle, tomorrow will bring more American soldiers with more American supplies. American soldiers had opposite expectations. They knew their logistics system worked. Knew if they were surrounded, supplies would be airdropped. Knew if their unit took casualties, replacements would arrive. Knew wounded would receive proper medical care. That confidence enabled sustained resistance, even in desperate situations. Battle of Bulge demonstrated this repeatedly. American units surrounded at Bastogne received airdrops. American forces pushed back at St. Vith received reinforcements. American casualties were evacuated to hospitals with adequate medical supplies. Logistics system functioned under pressure. German logistics collapsed under same pressure. By January 1945, logistics differential had become absolute. German units abandoned vehicles for lack of fuel. American units had excess fuel stockpiled. German soldiers scrounged food from civilians. American soldiers received hot meals in field kitchens. German wounded lay in aid stations without morphine. American wounded received pain medication and antibiotics. Final months of war confirmed what Battle of Bulge demonstrated. Germany couldn't sustain military operations against enemy with functioning logistics. As German supply lines disintegrated completely, Wehrmacht units surrendered en masse. Not because they lacked courage or tactical skill, but because they lacked food, fuel, ammunition, and hope. When American forces entered Germany in 1945, they found country whose infrastructure had been destroyed by strategic bombing. Factories were rubble. Rail yards were craters. Roads were impassable. Industrial base that supported German military operations no longer existed. Meanwhile, American factories continued producing war materials at full capacity. Economic war had been decided long before shooting stopped. K-Ration encapsulated this reality informed German soldiers could hold in their hands. Waterproof cardboard box containing 3 individually packaged meals with luxuries like chocolate and cigarettes. Manufacture date showing recent production. Sheer abundance visible in every captured American supply depot. This wasn't just food. This was proof of industrial capacity that Germany never possessed, and by 1944 could never acquire. Logistics won war. Tactics mattered. Strategy mattered. Leadership mattered. But logistics provided foundation, enabling everything else. Army without adequate supplies cannot execute tactics, regardless of how skilled its soldiers are. Cannot implement strategy, regardless of how brilliant its generals are. Cannot sustain combat operations, regardless of how motivated its troops are. Germany lost World War II because it couldn't sustain modern warfare against opponents with superior industrial and logistical capacity. United States produced more of everything, delivered it faster, sustained operations longer. Economic disparity made military outcome inevitable. K-Ration didn't cause American victory. But examining one in December 1944, German soldiers held evidence of why they were losing.